Hey folks, welcome back to the Lorcana Lexicon. One of the most requested video topics I've had is to make a how to play Lorcana series. Rather than overloading one video with way too much information up front, what I'm going to be doing is breaking it down into multiple videos. The video you're watching right now is the very basics of the game for people who are just starting out on their Lorcana journey. If you're looking for something a little more advanced, check out the How to Play Lorcana playlist on this channel. But without further ado, Lorcana is a trading card game where you take the role of powerful Illumineers, magical sorcerers with the power to bring ink to life and summon Disney characters and items into their world. These instances of the Disney characters are known as glimmers, and you'll use them to collect valuable chunks of lore and prevent your opponent from doing the same. To play, you will need a 60 card deck that contains no more than 2 colours of ink. The game contains 6 different colours of ink. We'll cover the differences of these types of inks in a later video, but for now, as long as your deck only contains 2 colours of ink, that's all you need to know. The goal of Disney's Lorcana is to collect 20 lore before your opponent does. You'll accomplish this goal by utilising the power of the cards at your disposal. The game has 3 types of cards: characters, actions, and items. These cards have many similarities, but key differences that we'll go through now. Characters are glimmers that you will summon to quest for you and have a few key components. In the top left, you'll find the card's cost. This is how much ink you will have to spend to play this card. The name of the character, as well as its classifications. These could be anything from sorcerer to princess, villain, or even broom. Characters are easily identifiable from other card types as they have a strength, a willpower, and a lore value. Strength indicates how much damage the character will deal in a challenge. Willpower is how much damage a character can sustain before being banished. And lore value is how much lore a character will gain for you each time it quests. Some characters will also have other abilities and effects. When a character is in play, it generally has 2 options. It can exhaust to quest and collect lore for you equal to its lore value, or it can challenge an exhausted character on your opponent's side of the board. When this happens, both characters will deal damage equal to their strength, and this will be marked on the card. I've found it useful to use D6s to represent the damage. If a character's damage exceeds their willpower, they are banished and moved to the discard pile. In most cases, a character cannot be exerted the turn you play them, as you'll need to wait until your next turn for the ink to dry. Action cards are one-time effects that happen and then the card is immediately put to the discard pile afterwards. Like characters, they also have an ink cost that indicates how much it costs to use them. Once this cost is paid, the action resolves immediately. Some actions have the song subtype. This means they can be sung by characters who have dried. To do this, instead of using ink to pay the card's cost, you can exert the chosen character to pay the action's cost. In order to be able to sing a song, the character's cost must be equal to or more than the song's cost. So Mickey could sing Be Our Guest, but Flounder could not. Items are enchanted objects that hang around in play and have a continued effect on the game. Much like your characters, once you've paid the cost for the item, it enters play and will stay there until it is banished. But unlike characters, items can be exhausted the same turn they enter play. They do not have to wait for their ink to dry. Items' effects are very varied, so it would be worth exploring the options you have available to you to see what powerful items you can add to augment your strategy. We've mentioned using ink a few times now to pay costs, but not actually how to generate ink in the first place. In Lorcana, most cards can be played into the inkwell and used as a resource instead of being played normally. Cards that can be played as ink are identified by the inkwell symbol around their cost. For example, Cruella and the Frying Pan can be played as ink, but Freeze doesn't have the inkwell symbol, so it cannot be played into your inkwell. Once per turn, you can add a card from your hand to your inkwell. To do this, place the card face down in front of you. It will remain there for the rest of the game and be a resource that is available to you each turn to play other cards. To play a card, you exert ink equal to the cost of the card and put that card into play. So here, we are exerting 1 ink, allowing us to pay Flounder's cost and get him into play. You now know all the basics required to play the game, but it's important to know the order of play. You start the game with 7 cards in your hand, and at the beginning of each turn, you ready or unexert any exerted cards you have in play. Then you draw a card. You then enter your main phase, where you can take any of the actions previously discussed in this video in any order. You may play up to 1 card into your inkwell. You may play a character, item or ability card by paying their ink cost. You may use the abilities of your characters and items. You may quest with a character to gain lore, or you may challenge one of your opponent's exerted characters. Once you've taken all the actions you want to take in a turn, you pass the turn to your opponent and they begin their turn. This cycle repeats until someone has gained 20 lore and the game instantly ends with them as the victor. Let's see what all this looks like over a few turns of a sample game. We start the game with 7 cards in hand, and we'll play Donald Duck face down into the inkwell. We'll then exert that ink to play Sergeant Tibbs paying his cost of 1. We can't do anything else, so pass the turn to our opponent. Our opponent plays a card face down into their inkwell, exerts that ink to play Lilo, and passes the turn back to us. We ready all our cards and draw a new card. We will then play Mickey Mouse into our inkwell, and then exert all of our ink to play the Genie, paying his cost of 2. We will then send Sergeant Tibbs questing to gain 1 lore and pass the turn back to our opponent. Our opponent will play another card into their inkwell, then they'll quest with Lilo gaining 2 lore, as Lilo has a lore value of 2. They will then put their lantern into play by exerting 2 ink and then passing the turn back to us. We ready all of our cards and draw a card for our turn. We'll start by having the Genie challenge Lilo as she is now exerted. Lilo deals 1 damage to the Genie and the Genie deals 2 damage to Lilo. Lilo's damage exceeds her willpower, so she is banished to the discard pile. We will then add Tigger to our inkwell and exert 2 ink to play Sudden Chill, forcing our opponent to discard a card. We'll quest again with Sergeant Tibbs, putting us up to 2 lore, and pass the turn back to our opponent. Our opponent plays a card to their inkwell and then exerts their lantern to use its ability. The lantern's ability allows them to pay 1 less for the next character they play. So they exert 3 ink and play the 4 cost Hands 13th in line and pass their turn back to us.
I love crazy.
Hopefully this example gives you an idea of how the game flows from turn to turn. If you want to see full gameplay videos, those are available on the channel. If you found this video useful, consider leaving a like and subscribing. This lets me know that I'm doing a good job and it makes sure that you don't miss more content like this. If you want to learn more about how to play Lorcana, such as what all the keyword abilities do and what the different colours of ink represents, check out the other videos in the Lorcana Lexicon Learn to Play playlist. Hopefully you'll be enjoying playing the game soon, and let me know how you get on in the comments, and I'll see you all for the next one.